Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stood in the middle of the junkyard on Kepler Station. The place smelled like rust and old engine oil. Broken ships and spare parts stretched as far as he could see. Most people avoided this part of the station, but Marcus came here every week, looking for cheap parts to fix and resell. The old alien who owned the junkyard, Grix, shuffled over to him. His 4 arms moved in different directions as he sorted through a box of circuit boards. "Back again, human? Still trying to make a fortune from my scraps?" Marcus grinned. "One person's trash is another person's treasure, Grix. You know that better than anyone." Grix made a sound that might have been a laugh. His species didn't have vocal cords like humans, so everything came out as clicks and whistles. "I have something new today. Found it buried under Section 7. Very old, very broken. But you like broken things, yes?" Marcus followed the alien through narrow paths between towering piles of metal. They walked for 10 minutes before reaching a cleared area. In the center sat something covered by a dirty tarp. Even covered, Marcus could tell it was big. Really big. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Grix pulled off the tarp with 2 of his arms. Underneath was a ship, or what was left of one. The hull was dark metal, almost black, covered in strange symbols that Marcus had never seen before. Parts of it were crushed, and entire sections were missing. But something about it made Marcus's heart beat faster. "Found it 50 meters down," Grix said. "Buried for long time, maybe centuries. Scanners say metal is worthless, no good salvage, but maybe you want 50 credits, and it's yours." 50 credits. That was nothing. Marcus spent more than that on lunch sometimes. He walked around the ship, running his hand along the hull. The metal felt strange under his fingers, almost warm despite sitting in the cold junkyard. "Deal," Marcus said before he could think too hard about it. Grix's 4 eyes widened in surprise. "Really? No bargaining? You humans are strange." He pulled out a datapad and transferred ownership. "It's yours now. Good luck moving it." That was a problem Marcus hadn't thought about. The ship was at least 30 meters long and probably weighed several tons. But he'd figure something out. He always did. Marcus spent the next 3 days arranging transport. He had to call in favors from friends and spend most of his savings, but finally managed to get the ship moved to his workshop. It barely fit inside the old cargo bay he rented on the lower levels of the station. Now came the real work. Marcus started with the exterior, cleaning centuries of dirt and grime. As he worked, more symbols appeared on the hull. They seemed to glow faintly in certain light. He took pictures and ran them through every database he could access. No matches. The ship's design was unlike anything in the current Galactic registry. It had no visible engines, no weapon ports, no standard docking mechanisms. Just smooth, flowing lines that seemed almost organic. Marcus had rebuilt hundreds of ships, but this one made him feel like a child trying to understand advanced mathematics. On the 4th day, while cleaning inside what he thought might be the cockpit, Marcus's hand brushed against a small indentation in the wall. The moment his skin made contact, the entire ship hummed to life. Lights flickered on, casting everything in a soft blue glow. Panels he hadn't even noticed before slid open, revealing controls that looked impossibly complex. Marcus jumped back, his heart pounding. Ships didn't just turn on like that, especially not ships that had been buried for centuries. He should have been scared, but instead, he felt excited. This was why he loved fixing old tech. You never knew what surprises waited inside. A holographic display materialized in front of him. It showed star charts, but not ones he recognized. The stars were in the wrong places, like the map was from a different time, or a different place entirely. Text appeared on the display, but not in any language Marcus knew. As he watched, the symbols shifted and changed, morphing through dozens of different scripts before finally settling on something he could read. Genetic scan complete. Human detected. Compatibility 97.3%. Marcus stared at the words. Compatibility? For what? More text appeared. Systems diagnostic running, main drive, damaged, weapons offline, life support functional, stealth systems operational, time since last activation, 4,827 standard cycles. Nearly 5,000 years. This ship had been buried for 5,000 years, and it still worked. Sort of. Marcus's hands shook as he reached for his toolkit. Whatever this ship was, wherever it came from, he was going to fix it. Over the next weeks, Marcus barely left his workshop. He studied every inch of the ship, learning its systems through trial and error. The ship seemed to help, displaying diagrams and instructions when he got stuck. It was like it wanted to be fixed. The more he learned, the more amazed he became. The technology was incredible. The hull could repair itself, slowly but surely. The power source was something he couldn't even identify, but it had been running for millennia without fuel, and the navigation system showed routes through space that shouldn't be possible, shortcuts that could cut travel time by 90%. But it was the stealth system that really caught his attention. When activated, the ship became invisible to every scanner he had. Not just hidden, but completely undetectable. It was like it stopped existing in normal space while still being right there. Marcus knew he should report the find. A ship this advanced, this old, it could change everything. But something held him back. Maybe it was greed, or maybe it was the way the ship seemed to respond to him personally. Either way, he kept working in secret. One night, while trying to understand the damaged main drive, Marcus found something that changed everything. Hidden in the ship's computer was a message, a video log from the last pilot. The figure on the screen looked human, but not quite. Taller, with elongated features and eyes that held too much knowledge. They spoke in that strange language, but subtitles appeared below. If you are watching this, then our plan succeeded. The ship has found one of our descendants. The genetic locks have recognized you as human, one of our children among the stars. We sealed this ship and others like it, hiding them where only humanity would think to look, in junkyards, in trash heaps, in places other species ignore. Marcus paused the video, his mind racing. Descendants? Genetic locks? He restarted it, needing to hear more. We are the architects, your ancestors from Earth's forgotten past. We left your world long ago, but we never forgot our children. We watched as you grew, as you reached for the stars with primitive rockets and boundless determination. We saw the potential in you that other species missed. The figure leaned forward. The galaxy is vast and full of danger. Ancient empires and young races struggle for dominance. Most see humanity as newcomers, weak and insignificant. They do not know your true heritage. These ships are our gift to you. Use them wisely. The technology within will give humanity the edge it needs to not just survive, but thrive. The message ended. Replaced by star charts showing the locations of other hidden ships, dozens of them, scattered across human space, all waiting in junkyards and scrap heaps. All waiting for humans to find them. Marcus sat in the pilot's chair for hours, staring at the charts. He'd bought this ship for 50 credits, pocket change, and it was worth more than entire star systems. But more than that, it was proof that humanity wasn't some random species that stumbled into space. They were the children of the architects, inheritors of technology that could reshape the galaxy. He thought about what to do next. He could sell the information, become rich beyond imagination. He could give it to Earth's military, make humanity the dominant power in the galaxy. Or he could do what the architects probably intended, find the other ships, distribute them among humanity, and let his species claim its birthright. The ship hummed around him as if approving of his thoughts. Marcus made his decision. He would fix the main drive first. Then he would find others like himself, humans who understood technology, who could keep secrets, who believed humanity deserved more than the scraps the galaxy threw their way. But first, he had a ship to repair. The greatest discovery in human history sat in his workshop, bought for pocket change from an alien who thought it was worthless. Marcus smiled as he picked up his tools. Sometimes the best treasures were the ones others couldn't see the value in. Outside, Kepler Station continued its daily routine. Ships came and went, traders haggled over prices, and everyone ignored the lower levels, where a single human worked on what they assumed was just another piece of junk. They had no idea that in that cramped workshop, the future of humanity was being rebuilt one component at a time. Marcus worked through the night, the ship's gentle hum keeping him company. Tomorrow he would start planning. Tomorrow he would begin the search for the other ships. But tonight, he had the satisfaction of knowing that he, Marcus Chen, a nobody from nowhere, had found something that would change everything. And he'd gotten it for just 50 credits. The morning after Marcus fixed the main drive, he got an unexpected visitor. Sarah Kim, his oldest friend and one of the best pilots on Kepler Station, stood at his workshop door with her arms crossed. "You've been hiding something," she said, pushing past him into the workshop. 3 weeks, Marcus. You've been locked in here for 3 weeks, and you missed our poker game twice." Marcus tried to block her view of the ship, but it was pointless. The moment Sarah saw it, she stopped mid-step. Her mouth fell open as she took in the sleek black hull with its strange markings. "What the hell is that?" "Just a project," Marcus said weakly. Sarah walked around the ship, her trained pilot's eye taking in every detail. "This isn't from any manufacturer I know. The design is all wrong. No, wait, the design is perfect. Too perfect." She turned to face him. "Where did you get this?" Marcus knew he couldn't lie to Sarah. They'd known each other since they were kids, both growing up in the station's lower levels. She could read him like an open book, so he told her everything. The junkyard, the 50 credits, the message from the architects. Sarah listened in silence, her expression shifting from disbelief to amazement to something like fear. When he finished, she sat down heavily on a crate. "You're serious," she said. "This is really an ancient human ship." "Want to see something amazing?" Marcus asked. He led her into the cockpit and activated the holographic displays. The star charts appeared, showing the locations of the other hidden ships. Sarah studied the charts with the intensity she usually reserved for navigating asteroid fields. "These locations, Marcus, some of these are in alien territory. The Kreen Empire, the Vothan Collective. If they find out humans have this technology..." "That's why we need to be smart about this," Marcus said. "I can't do it alone. I need someone I trust. Someone who can fly anything." He looked at her meaningfully. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she grinned, the same wild grin she'd had when they were kids planning to sneak into the upper levels. "When do we start?" They began that day. Sarah's pilot skills proved invaluable as she learned the ship's unique controls. The architect vessel didn't fly like normal ships. It moved through space in ways that seemed to bend physics. Where other ships pushed against the void, this one slipped through it like water. Their first real test flight came a week later. Marcus had installed what he thought were the last repairs, and Sarah had spent hours in the simulator mode the ship provided. They waited until the station's night cycle when traffic was minimal. "All systems green," Marcus reported from the co-pilot seat. "Stealth mode engaged. We're invisible to station sensors." Sarah's hands moved over controls that looked more like art than technology. The ship rose from the workshop floor without a sound. No engine roar, no vibration. Just smooth, perfect movement. They slipped out of the station through a maintenance tunnel, emerging into the star-filled void. Sarah pushed the ship faster, testing its limits. The normal laws of acceleration didn't seem to apply. They could go from 0 to near light speed without feeling any force. "This is impossible," Sarah breathed, but her eyes were bright with excitement. Do you know what this means? With ships like this, humanity could explore regions of space that would take centuries to reach with normal drives. They flew for hours, testing systems and pushing boundaries. The ship performed flawlessly, as if it had never spent millennia buried in dirt. They discovered new features with each passing minute. A scanner that could detect life signs from light years away. A communication system that worked instantaneously across any distance. A weapon system that Marcus hadn't even realized was there, capable of devastating power, but locked behind genetic codes they couldn't crack. As they returned to the station, Sarah pulled up short. "Marcus, look!" On the scanner, 3 ships appeared near the station. They bore the markings of the Galactic Enforcement Division, the multi-species police force that kept order in civilized space, and they were surrounding Marcus's workshop. "Someone reported us," Marcus said, his heart sinking. Sarah's fingers flew over the controls. "Hold on. Let me try something." She activated systems Marcus didn't recognize, and suddenly they could hear communications from the GED ships. "Confirmed energy readings match no known signatures. The human Chen Marcus is to be detained for questioning regarding illegal technology." "They don't know about the ship specifically," Sarah said. "Just that you have something unusual." Marcus thought quickly. If the GED confiscated the ship, it would end up in some alien research lab. Humanity would never see the benefits. But if they ran, they'd be fugitives. "There," Sarah pointed to the star chart. "The nearest hidden ship. It's in human space, an old mining station in the Proxima Belt. We could get there in 6 hours with this drive." It wasn't really a choice. Marcus nodded, and Sarah turned the ship away from Kepler Station. Away from the only home they'd ever known. The journey to Proxima showed them just how special the architect's ship was. They covered distances that should have taken days in mere hours. The stealth system hid them from every patrol and checkpoint. By the time the GED realized they were gone, Marcus and Sarah were already in a different star system. The mining station was abandoned, a relic from humanity's early expansion into space. According to the ship's data, another architect vessel was buried in the deepest mine shaft. They landed in a crater, hidden from any passing ships. "We need help," Marcus said as they prepared to search for the second ship. "2 people can't retrieve all of these. We need a team." Sarah agreed. Over the next days, they carefully reached out to people they trusted. Tom Rodriguez, an engineer who'd been blacklisted by the major corporations for refusing to sell out human designs to alien companies. Dr. Lisa Park, a xenoarchaeologist who'd spent years arguing that humanity's development didn't match standard evolutionary patterns. Captain James Wright, a retired military officer who'd always said humanity was capable of more than the galaxy gave them credit for. One by one, they came. Each person was skeptical until they saw the ship, until they felt the smooth hum of its power, until they understood what it represented. They were a small group, but they were dedicated. Finding the second ship proved challenging. The mine shaft had collapsed in places, and they had to dig carefully. But when they finally reached it, the effort was worth it. This ship was smaller, designed for speed and reconnaissance. Its stealth systems were even more advanced. Tom barely slept for 3 days as he studied the new vessel. "The technology builds on itself," he explained to the group. "Each ship has pieces of a larger puzzle. Alone, they're incredible. Together, they might be unstoppable." Dr. Park made a discovery that shook them all. Hidden in the second ship's database were historical records, real history, not the sanitized version taught in schools. Humanity hadn't developed space travel on their own. They'd been guided subtly by architect influences left behind. Small pushes in the right direction, dreams sent to the right scientists. Accidental discoveries that weren't accidental at all. "They never left us," she said in wonder. The architects prepared us for this moment. Every human advancement, every breakthrough that other species said we achieved too quickly, it was all part of a plan. Captain Wright took charge of security and strategy. He understood the military implications better than anyone. If the other species learn about this, they'll unite against us. Humanity is already seen as too ambitious, too fast-growing. This would confirm their worst fears. But Wright also saw the opportunity. With these ships, we could protect human colonies that are always last priority for the Galactic Defense Force. We could explore regions deemed too dangerous for our primitive vessels. We could finally have a seat at the table as equals, not junior members. They established a base in the mining station, hidden from scanners by the architect technology. More people joined them, carefully vetted and sworn to secrecy. Engineers, pilots, scientists, and soldiers. All human, all believing that their species deserved more. Sarah led missions to retrieve more ships. Each recovery was dangerous, especially those in alien territory. They had to be ghosts, invisible and silent. But the architect's stealth technology was perfect. They slipped past patrols and checkpoints like they weren't there. Some ships were fighters, fast and deadly. Others were carriers, capable of holding entire communities. They found research vessels with laboratories that made current human science look primitive. They found mining ships that could harvest resources from stars themselves. But it was the discovery on the seventh ship that changed their mission. Marcus was helping catalog the vessel when he found another message from the architects. This one was different, more urgent. The hologram showed the same elongated figure, but they looked worried now. If you have found this message, then the awakening has begun. Our children, you must understand the danger. We did not hide these ships just to give you an advantage. We hid them because something is coming. The figure gestured, and star charts appeared. But these showed something moving through the galaxy, a vast shadow consuming star systems. They are called the Devourers. They consume civilizations, strip worlds bare, leave nothing but void. We fought them once and barely survived. They will come again. The other species of this galaxy are not ready. Their technology, their thinking, it is too rigid. But humanity, you adapt, you improvise, you find solutions where others see only defeat. That is why we chose you. That is why we prepared you. The message ended with coordinates and a date. A location near the galactic edge and a time just 5 years in the future. The group sat in stunned silence after watching. They'd thought they were just reclaiming humanity's heritage. Now they realized they were preparing for war against something that had defeated even the architects. "We need all the ships," Captain Wright said finally, "and we need to start training people. Not just a few, but thousands. Humanity needs to be ready." Dr. Park pulled up population statistics. "If we're careful, if we recruit from the colonies and stations where people disappear all the time anyway, we could build a force without alerting the authorities." Tom was already sketching plans. "We can modify the mining station, turn it into a training facility. The architect ships have simulation programs. We could train pilots and crews in secret." Sarah looked at the star chart showing the remaining ships. 23 more to find, some in Kreen space, some in regions no human has ever been. It won't be easy. "Nothing worth doing ever is," Marcus said. He thought about how this had all started, with him looking for spare parts to make a few credits. Now he was part of something that could save not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. They got to work immediately. The mining station transformed day by day. Hidden hangars carved into asteroids, training facilities shielded by architect technology, living quarters for the growing number of humans who left everything behind to join them. Each new ship brought new capabilities, medical technology that could heal injuries in minutes, manufacturing systems that could build equipment from raw atoms, agricultural modules that could feed thousands in spaces the size of closets. But more importantly, each ship brought new people. Word spread carefully, quietly, through humanity's colonies and stations. Not propaganda or grand speeches, just whispers of hope. Humanity had a secret. Humanity had a chance. They called themselves the Reclaimers. Not conquerors or rebels, just humans taking back what was always meant to be theirs. They trained in secret, learned to fly ships that bent reality, studied technology that made the impossible routine. And always, they watched the calendar. 5 years seemed like a long time, but Marcus knew it would pass quickly. They had to find the remaining ships, train the crews, and prepare humanity for a threat that had destroyed civilizations far older and more advanced than anything in the current galaxy. But they had advantages the architects had seen centuries ago. Humanity's creativity, their stubbornness, their ability to find hope in the darkest places. And now they had the tools to match their spirit. The galaxy continued its routine, unaware that in hidden corners and forgotten stations, humanity was preparing to step into its true role, not as newcomers or junior members, but as the inheritors of the architects, the last hope against the coming darkness. Marcus stood in the observation deck of the mining station, watching ships train in complex maneuvers that would have been impossible with normal technology. Each pilot pushed boundaries, found new ways to use the architect gifts. Very human of them, he thought with a smile. Sarah joined him, still in her flight suit from training new pilots. The latest recruits are good, really good. That kid from Mars can already fly patterns I'm still learning. We're going to need every one of them, Marcus said. Sarah nodded, then grinned. Still can't believe you got all this for 50 credits. Marcus laughed. It had been the bargain of the millennium. But as he watched humanity prepare to face its destiny, he realized the real value wasn't in the ships or the technology. It was in what it revealed about humanity itself. They weren't just random beings who stumbled into space. They were the children of the architects, chosen and prepared for this moment. And they would be ready. 5 years passed faster than anyone expected. The Reclaimers had grown from a handful of dreamers in a mining station to a hidden fleet of thousands. They'd recovered all 43 architect ships, each one a masterpiece of technology that challenged everything the galaxy thought possible. Marcus stood on the bridge of the ship that started it all, now officially designated as humanity's hope. The vessel had revealed more secrets as time passed, including weapons systems that could crack moons and shields that could withstand supernovas. But it was the final discovery that had shocked them most. Dr. Lisa Park had found it 3 months ago, hidden in quantum-encrypted files that took their best minds years to crack. The architects hadn't just left ships. They'd left something in human DNA itself. Dormant genes that activated in the presence of architect technology. Humans weren't just good pilots for these ships, they were literally designed for them. Contact on long-range sensors, Tom Rodriguez announced from his station. He'd become their chief technology officer, understanding the architect systems better than anyone. It matches the profile. The Devourers are here. The bridge fell silent. They'd trained for this moment, run thousands of simulations. But facing the reality was different. Through the view screen, they could see it. A vast shadow moving between stars, darker than space itself. It wasn't a ship or a fleet. It was something else entirely, something that existed partially in normal space and partially somewhere else. "Send the signal," Marcus ordered. "It's time." Sarah Kim, now Admiral of the Reclaimer Fleet, transmitted the coded message they'd prepared. Across human space, on every colony and station, hidden transmitters activated. The message was simple, but would change everything. Humanity's children, your true heritage awaits. Stand ready. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Galactic Council's emergency session convened within hours, representatives of dozens of species gathering to address what they saw as a human uprising. The Kreen Emperor himself appeared by hologram, his insectoid features twisted in anger. "The humans have been hiding illegal technology," he chittered. "They must be sanctioned immediately." But before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring. The Devourers had been detected by conventional sensors, approaching the galactic core at impossible speeds. The shadow that had consumed countless civilizations was here. Admiral Vorthan of the Galactic Defense Force tried to organize a response, but their ships might as well have been toys. Laser fire passed through the Devourers without effect. Missiles detonated harmlessly against shields that existed in dimensions their scientists couldn't measure. Within minutes, 3 Vothan cruisers were simply gone, not destroyed, but erased from existence. That's when humanity revealed itself. The Reclaimer fleet dropped out of stealth as 43 Architect vessels appearing around threatened worlds like guardian angels. The Galactic Council's session erupted in chaos as representatives saw ships that defied every known principle of engineering. Captain Wright, commanding the Architect carrier designated Earthshield, opened a channel to the Council. "This is the human Reclaimer fleet. We're here to help. Clear your ships from the combat zone and let us work." The Kreen Emperor started to protest, but his words were cut short as one of his own worlds went dark. The Devourers had reached it first, and in seconds, a planet of 12 billion simply ceased to exist. There was no more time for politics. Sarah led the fighter wings in the first attack run. The Architect ships moved like living things, dancing between dimensions in ways that made conventional physics weep. They struck at the Devourers with weapons that humanity barely understood but had learned to use through instinct and determination. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Space itself rippled and tore as opposing technologies clashed. The Devourers adapted quickly, learning from each attack, but humanity adapted faster. Where the Architects had fought with logic and calculation, humans fought with creativity and chaos. Marcus coordinated from humanity's hope, seeing patterns in the Devourers' movements that others missed. "They're hurting us," he realized suddenly. "They want us to group together. Sarah, scatter pattern 7, now!" The human pilots responded instantly, breaking formation in ways that would have been suicide against conventional enemies. But this wasn't a conventional battle. Each pilot pushed their ship to limits the Architects probably never imagined, finding new combinations of systems, new ways to use the technology. Young pilot Jin Martinez from Mars, the one Sarah had praised years ago, made the crucial discovery. "They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously," he reported, while dodging an attack that should have been impossible to avoid. "But they need anchor points in our dimension. Target the dark spots that don't move with the rest." It was the breakthrough they needed. Tom quickly recalibrated their weapons to target these anchor points. One by one, pieces of the Devourer began to destabilize, forced fully into normal space where they could be destroyed. But the battle was far from won. The Devourer adapted again, splitting into smaller entities, each one capable of consuming entire fleets. They pressed toward inhabited systems with renewed hunger. That's when humanity showed why the Architects had chosen them. Dr. Park had spent years studying not just the technology, but the philosophy behind it. The Architects built tools. Humans turned those tools into something more. She proposed something insane, something that required perfect coordination between all 43 ships. "We linked them," she explained over the fleet comm. "The ships were designed to work together, not just as a fleet, but as a single organism. It's risky. If one ship fails, we all fail. But connected, we might have enough power to push them back." It was the kind of crazy plan that no other species would consider. Linking ships meant linking minds, sharing consciousness between thousands of humans. One mistake could kill them all. Marcus didn't hesitate. Do it. The process was unlike anything they'd trained for. As the ships linked, Marcus felt his awareness expand. He wasn't just on one bridge anymore. He was on all of them. He could feel Sarah's fierce determination, Tom's brilliant analytical mind, Wright's tactical precision, and thousands of other human minds all working as one. The linked fleet moved with impossible coordination, 43 ships becoming a single weapon. They struck at the Devourers with combined force, punching through defenses that had held against the Architects millennia ago. But it was Jin Martinez who delivered the killing blow. Still thinking outside every box, he realized they weren't just fighting the Devourers, they were fighting their hunger. Using the linked fleet's sensors, he found the source, a quantum singularity the creatures use to fuel their endless consumption. "If we destabilize it, they'll have to feed on themselves to survive," he said through the link. It was brilliant and horrible. The fleet focused everything on that singularity, pouring energy into weapons they'd never dared use before. Space screamed in protest as fundamental forces were twisted and broken. The Devourers realized the threat too late. As their feeding source collapsed, they turned on themselves, the hunger that had consumed civilizations becoming their destruction. The shadow that had threatened the galaxy dissolved into nothing, leaving only the echo of their final screams across dimensions. The human fleet held the link for several more minutes, making sure the threat was truly gone. When they finally separated, many collapsed from exhaustion. They'd pushed themselves beyond any reasonable limit and survived. The aftermath changed everything. The Galactic Council couldn't deny what they'd witnessed. Humanity hadn't just saved themselves, they'd saved everyone. The Kreen Emperor, who hours before had demanded sanctions, now offered alliance. The Vothan Collective opened trade routes they'd kept closed to humans for centuries. But more importantly, humanity's secret was out. The truth about the Architects, about humanity's heritage, spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Some species were frightened, others amazed, but none could deny that humans had earned their place among the stars. Marcus found himself in demand, called to testify before councils and committees, to explain how humanity had hidden such power. His answer was always the same. We didn't hide it, we discovered it, and when the galaxy needed us, we didn't hesitate to use it. The Reclaimer fleet became the core of a new human military force, but their mission expanded beyond defense. They explored regions of space too dangerous for other species, rescued colonies thought lost, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Sarah continued to lead pilot training, teaching new generations to fly ships that responded to human creativity and instinct. Her training programs became legendary, producing pilots who could dance between stars and laugh at impossible odds. Tom reverse-engineered more Architect technology, creating innovations that benefited all species, medical devices that could cure diseases thought incurable, energy sources that could power entire systems, transportation methods that shrank the galaxy to manageable sizes. Dr. Park established the Institute of Galactic History, dedicated to uncovering more truths hidden in the past. She found evidence of other Architect interventions. Other species guided and tested, but none had passed the test like humanity. Captain Wright became the first human Grand Admiral in the reformed Galactic Defense Force, bringing human tactical innovation to the protection of all civilized worlds. Under his leadership, pirates and raiders learned that human space was no longer easy prey. And Marcus? He kept the original ship, humanity's hope. Sometimes he flew alone, visiting junkyards and scrap heaps, wondering if there were more secrets waiting to be found. The Architects had given humanity the tools, but humans had made them into something greater. One day, while investigating an ancient debris field, Marcus found something new. Not a ship this time, but a message beacon. When activated, it showed a star chart pointing beyond the galactic edge. to places no known species had explored. The message was simple. When you are ready, come find us. The architects. Marcus smiled. Humanity had passed the first test, proven themselves worthy of their heritage. But apparently that was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, humanity's ancestors waited with new challenges, new opportunities, new ways to grow. He sent the coordinates to Sarah and the others. Within hours, plans were being made. Humanity had spent too long being held back, told they were too young, too primitive, too ambitious. Now, they knew the truth. They were the children of the architects, inheritors of technology and potential beyond imagination. The galaxy had learned an important lesson: never underestimate humanity. They might trade in junkyards and work in the lower levels. They might seem like newcomers playing with forces beyond their understanding, but when threatened, when challenged, when given the chance, they would rise to meet any challenge. And it all started with one man, in one junkyard, who bought an ancient ship for pocket change. Years later, that story became legend among human children. How Marcus Chen bought humanity's future for 50 credits. How a species dismissed as primitive saved the galaxy. How humanity learned they weren't alone in the universe, they were its designated protectors. The junkyard on Kepler Station became a monument, visited by millions. Grix, the old alien who'd sold the ship, was honored as an accidental hero of humanity. He never quite understood what the fuss was about. To him, it had just been another piece of junk. But that was the human gift. Seeing potential where others saw trash, finding hope where others saw defeat, creating victory from impossible odds. The architects had known this when they hid their gifts. They'd known that only humanity would look in the forgotten places, would take chances on broken things, would transform 50 credits worth of scrap into the salvation of the galaxy. The devourers were gone, but the universe was vast and full of wonders and terrors. Humanity stood ready to face them all, no longer the newcomers but the inheritors of an ancient legacy. They'd claimed their birthright not through conquest or demands, but by being exactly what they'd always been: stubborn, creative, hopeful beings who never knew when to quit. And somewhere in the void beyond the galactic edge, the architects waited and watched. Their children had grown up. The real adventure was about to begin.